If Africa Rising was an animal, I would probably choose the giraffe.
If Africa Rising was an animal, I will call it a lion.
Africa Rising might represent many animals, but the animal that came to my mind was the elephant.
The reason why I would choose the giraffe is based on its physical characteristics. It's very tall, it stands out, and it's seen and visible. I consider the research space as a jungle where there's a lot of competition for resources, but Africa Rising has managed to stand out and appears quite formidable, and mainly because of the way it has conducted its research, but also the partnerships that it has developed.
Just like a lion, when a lion is hungry, he runs after his food, his prey. And after he's full, he gets his prey, he will rest. So Africa Rising is also now, after 11 years, is now resting. He got partnership together, he got people together, he got the technology, is resting to now start maybe a new life.
I think that there have been very few innovations, such as the Africa Rising, that have been all-encompassing, like carrying the initiatives of a huge part of Africa. Africa Rising covered a number of aspects related to rural people, from crop production to livestock, encompassing issues such as gender could be incorporated. So indeed, I think my immediate response would be to equate the Africa Rising program to the elephant.
The Africa Rising project taught me to embrace different disciplines, that not only because I've always been exposed to economics and econometrics, etc., but evaluating, because I'm in charge of evaluation of a project, such a complex project like this one, requires an open mind, because again, I was called and still called to work with colleagues with very different backgrounds, so it taught me that not only what I think is good in my discipline, but it needs also to be tailored to other disciplines, especially in this case agronomy, especially, and environmental science, of course.
What I really like from Africa Rising project is the partnership. All those partners work together as one family with one vision, planned together, we visited fields together and shared experiences. As they say, if you go alone, you wouldn't go far, but if you go together with people, you can get really far. So I really like that partnership, guided by the coordinator to accomplish what we've been talking about today.
It's really a project that brings different people, brings different institutions together. And every institute, every person has a different understanding of the project. Like they have their own way of doing things. By bringing different expertise and skills and also cultures, when we bring it to the bigger Africa Rising picture, it somehow helped us to achieve what we should achieve in the project as a deliverable.
So a project that involves going back to the same thing and doing it over and over until the results are acceptable. The people see it, they feel that it's beneficial, and you are not supposed to come there to remind them again. I think it's the best way to go. That's one thing about Africa Rising I like, that we kept the same beneficiaries over time. And so they understood the project, and then they are doing it by themselves.
But 4 years ago, the former coordinator, Irmgard, and myself from Niamey, we all had a joint field tour. And we went to visit fields in Mali, and Kutiala, and Guguni. And when we arrived in one of those villages there, I think the bridge is really in a very poor state, so we cannot cross with the car. So we all had to get off the vehicle and walk through, and everybody was scared that we may fall because there's a big river down there. But all this, after we have crossed and the vehicles came just with the driver, we now met later and everybody was saying, wow, we have seen death. But all this we were doing it because we were like a team. We really enjoyed, even though it was a very, threatening situation. We still came together that evening. We sat in the hotel, planned for the next day for the visit. And I think that's a very fun part of it.
Everybody is willing to contribute. And, people do the work in a positive way and willingly, which helped to achieve the objectives of the project.
When the time came that Africa Rising was coming to a close, for me this was quite a sad moment really, because I had grown to learn to live and work with people from a diverse background. You had this one big family that, although really work was involved, there was a family aspect to it.
Of all the things that I could have forgotten, I wouldn't forget Ermagad, who was a project manager for a long time, her dedication, her commitment for the project, and also her stance for people to deliver. So I just, channeled that inertia which I received from her to the other team, so that, we were in one boat together.
Of all the things that I could forget, I will never forget my interactions with other scientists under the Africa Rising program. I think for any intervention to be meaningful to farmers, there have to be different aspects that are engaged in terms of research. So look at research from a wide perspective. Consider the environment, the types of crops, consider the cultural aspects of communities. I think for me that was a huge contribution that the Africa Rising program makes to me personally as an individual, but also as a scientist.
What I will never forget, I will not forget the farmers. I will not forget our partners on the ground who are so excited. And for example, as I said, there's so many innovations that we tried, but I like that part when we were talking about the different food preparations for nutrition enhancement of children and women. And I could see the brightness in the face and eyes of women out there. And I believe that only women can change this world.
I think I will never forget Irmgard and her energy in shepherding the project for all this time. Her tireless engagement and also her willingness to compromise and to be on the side of everybody. She really made a huge difference in achieving the objects and the targets for Africa Rising.
I have had a lot of memorable events and memorable people that I have met under Africa Rising. Irmgard Hoshile Zeledon is one of the people I think that was quite inspirational over time during the program. She always came out as a parent in a way. As I've said, there are many people that I have had memorable moments with, but I think Irmgard is one of them.
The person I'll never forget is Jerry Glover, and I know it sounds, why Jerry, his level of commitment to the program from the time it started to the very end has been impeccable. He was there in terms of the design of the program, in ensuring that we were actually speaking to the big goals, not only that the donor wanted, but that were pertinent to the respective countries. Also, not only that, but also ensuring the rigor of science so that it's actually scientifically defensible. He was very instrumental in looking at the knowledge products and being part of the decision process on how to ensure that really science remains solid, but also speaking of that impact around poverty, hunger, and malnutrition. Our camaraderie has kind of formed a tight caucus of a family where we do understand each other, and that is very critical for the success of any kind of work. We know we're not biologically related, but actually we have the passion for what we're doing, we know the common objectives, and because of that it developed a sense of transparency amongst us. Transparency in the sense that everyone knew what template they needed to use in terms of reporting, in terms of planning, but also in terms of budgetary expectations. There were no secrets that, oh, this is how much we receive. That would be told transparently by the project managers, and then we on the table decided and saw, based on the kind of contribution you're giving, how much piece of the pie you would get. So I like that level of transparency. It allowed the work to be actually continuous without necessarily being unhindered.
I think I see that under the African Rising program was a cadre of scientists and individuals that were really committed to developing technologies that were meaningful to uplift the lives of people in the rural areas.
Without commitment, regardless of how much money you have, you cannot have an impact. And I think this is one thing I saw in Africa Rising, that all the partners, most partners are committed.
When we co-create, co-design with the farmers and the partners, the national partners we're working with, we know that even when Africa Rising is long gone and off the stage, the footprint of Africa Rising will remain in the areas where we have been targeting these communities, simply because they felt they were part of it, they had buy-in as a legitimate program that cared for moving the needle on hunger, poverty, and malnutrition.